Hi there, I'm Elisipka, and this is the Apatros Review. Now in this episode we take a look at the first of the feature-length versions of the Rocky Jones Space Ranger serials. And we start off with Beyond the Moon. This was a feature edit of a television serial called Rocky Jones Space Ranger, and this first one was released in 1956. Now it was directed by Hollingsworth Morris and written by Warren Wilson. The producer was Roland D. Reed. The cast includes Richard Crane, Sally Mansfield, Scotty Beckett, Robert Lydon, Charles Meredith, Maurice Cass, and Patsy Parsons. Now, all of the feature versions of the Rocky Jones Space Ranger serials are available in various formats, from VHS to DVD to various public domain internet streaming sites and even on YouTube. This particular serial is also in the Sci-Fi Invasion 50-film box set from Mill Creek. The later issues, by the way. Now for the synopsis. After returning home from a successful mission, Space Rangers Rocky, Jones, and Winky are shocked to find that esteemed Earth scientist Professor Newton has sent a video message declaring that he and his 10-year-old ward, Space Ranger Cadet Bobby, have decided to stay in the rogue planet Ophiuchus. By the way, for your information, the name is Greek for Serpent Bearer. Rocky believes that the professor was coerced into making the declaration and offers to mount a covert off-the-books mission to Ophiuchus to rescue Professor Newton and Bobby. Drake, the Secretary of State, agrees to the request, pulling some strings to have a refueling station close to the Ophiuchus space border, close to become a secret support station for Rocky. Draco also has one condition up his sleeve. The female auxiliary Space Ranger Vina Ray is assigned to Rocky's ship as she has knowledge of Ophiuchus linguistics and can translate their language for Rocky. Very helpful. The team head off in their ship, the XV-2 Orbit Jet, on a perilous mission deep into enemy territory to rescue their friends. But they are unaware that the sinister queen of Ophiuchus, Cleolanta, already knows of their plans, having installed an insider agent into Drake's office, the Space Ranger Griff, who was already making plans to run interference in Rocky's mission. Now, the television series Rocky Jones Space Ranger is perhaps, if you don't count things like the 1930s serial Flash Gordon and Buck Rogers, the first true space opera. Made in 1952, the 38-episode series ran for a single season in 1954 before ultimately being cancelled at the end of its run. There were many other similar shows made at the time, but what makes Rocky Jones Space Ranger unique is that it was entirely shot in actual film stock, not the videotape stock the rest was shot on, or done live. This means that Rocky Jones Space Ranger has survived entirely intact, and can now be found easily on old VHS tapes, on public domain operated DVDs, on internet streaming sites, and on YouTube, which is where I chose to view my copy, my review print, even though I already have extracted my archive print from the Mill Creek Sci-Fi Invasion 50-film box set and printed it into my collection. Thanks in part to this longevity, Rocky Jones Space Ranger has attained a healthy cult following amongst fans of 1950s science fiction, and for good reason. Rocky Jones is the original Captain Kirk and the original Doctor Who combined into one package. As for Beyond the Moon, this was the first of 12 telepic released feature-length re-edits, comprised of all the three pirate serials in the series, edited together to form movies, which were released onto television in 1956. It's here in this feature that we meet the sinister queen of Ophiuchus, Cleolanta, a ruthless dictator who likes to interfere with us humans' lives and plans to one day wage war against Earth in order to rule the universe. Of course she ultimately fails, but that's a story for another time. The story, which by the way had an extra scene dialogue shot that was never in the original TV serial version, does a pretty bang-up job of introducing the characters in a classic TV serial way, and there's plenty of cool 1950s touches, such as having the female Space Ranger possessing a taste for hot rodding. She certainly could put me from my paces if we ever did a race together, that's for sure. The show goes through the story's paces with an admirable degree of skill and efficiency, as there is practically zero fat to clog up the story's heart with bad cholesterol. I actually consider Beyond the Moon to be a solid example of 1950s science fiction, as this is perfectly indicative of the best of the decade's genre tropes. The story is perfectly serviceable and even has plenty of life lessons to throw in, such as the virtues of teamwork and letting people being selected on the basis of merit, even if others might not have too high a hope of the newbie succeeding. Even Rocky Jones himself learns that having a woman aboard Space Ranger patrol ship is not necessarily a bad idea. You can learn quite a lot about the lessons of life in itself, a safe and completely child and family friendly way by watching Rocky Jones Space Ranger instead of that current trend of pissy group crap. The actors are all perfectly suited for the material at hand, and I couldn't find a single actor on the cast that would ever qualify as a bad actor. Everyone here knows their role and place, and they do the job to the best of their ability. The optical effects might look primitive by today's standards, but believe it or not, this kind of stuff was excellent for the time, and Rocky Jones Space Ranger was quite the groundbreaker of its visual effects. It even established many design tropes we take for granted in today's sci-fi TV shows, like sliding doors. If you're a science fiction fan with children you want to introduce to your beloved genre in an entirely safe way, without worrying about the cult of 2017 infiltrating corrupting your viewing enjoyment, then Rocky Jones Space Ranger is the way to go. There is absolutely no gore or nudity in this feature. Beyond the Moon has earned itself the B, 6 out of 10 grading in my grading book, a solid example of 1950s TV science fiction space opera. And if you want to find this, it's pretty commonly easy to find. It was released on original VHS tapes, then on DVD. There's plenty of DVDs out there with the show on it. And in fact, my review print actually took it off the Sci-Fi Invasion 51 box set. Also, my review print was actually on YouTube. I watched it. So if you want to watch it, look it up on YouTube. Actually, look up the whole Rocky Jones Space Ranger series. You'll find it very easily. Okay, that's it for this review. Now, Rocky Jones Space Ranger Beyond the Moon gets a B, 6 out of 10. Solid effort. Now, if you have any questions, just hit me up in the comment section. I'll be happy to answer. Hope you guys are staying safe. Take it easy. That's it for this review. See ya.